The sun was bright over the alien marketplace, but for her, everything was dark. She lay in the corner near a trash bin, half covered in a torn blanket. Her thin legs were twisted, one completely useless. Her arms had old burn marks, and her fingers were missing 2 nails. Her skin, once smooth and silver, was now dirty, scarred, and cracked. Her name was Karel, but no one called her that anymore. They only said, "Move, trash," or worse, "Get out, broken thing." Children threw pebbles at her. Adults turned, their heads as if she didn't exist. Her people believed anyone who couldn't fight or work was worthless. And she had become nothing. She hadn't eaten in 2 days. Her stomach growled, but no one stopped. She reached out her hand once and someone spat near her fingers. Still, she whispered, "Please." A boot stepped in front of her. She prepared for a kick. Her body tensed, but no kick came. Instead, a voice, deep, calm, male, spoke gently. "Are you hurt?" She blinked. Slowly, she looked up. A human. Broad shoulders, sunburned skin, brown beard with gray at the chin. His eyes were tired, but kind. He wore a thick brown coat and carried a bag of supplies. A traveler, maybe a worker from the nearby spaceport. Karel shook her head weakly. "Go away. You don't want to touch me." But the man didn't move. He knelt down. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said, reaching into his bag. He pulled out a water flask. "Drink." She stared. She didn't trust him. No one had helped her before. Was this a trick? He saw her fear. "I'll take the first sip," he said, and drank from the bottle. Then he offered it again. Her lips were dry. Her hands shook. Slowly, she took it and sipped. The water felt like life itself. "My name is David," he said. She didn't answer. He didn't press her. Instead, he opened a small food pack. It smelled warm, like something soft and sweet inside. She stared. "You want it?" he asked. She nodded. He placed it gently beside her and stepped back. She pulled it close like a scared animal, ripped it open with trembling hands, and ate like she hadn't eaten in a week. David waited. She finished and whispered, "Why? Why what? Why help someone like me?" He sat down beside her. "Because no one else did." She looked at him unsure. "I'm broken." He shook his head. "No, you're just hurt." Karel stared at the ground. No one had said that before. "What's your name?" he asked. She hesitated. Then softly, "Karel." "Nice to meet you, Karel." Tears stung her eyes. She turned away, ashamed. David stood and offered his hand. "Come with me. My ship is not far. You can rest." She looked at her twisted leg. "I can't walk." He knelt and said, "Then I'll carry you." "No," she said quickly, panic rising. "They'll see. They'll laugh. They'll hurt you too." "I don't care what they think," he said simply. Before she could argue, he lifted her in his arms. She was so light, like carrying a bundle of cloth. Some people stared. One old alien shouted, "She's cursed! Leave her!" David ignored them. He held her close and walked with calm steps through the market. Karel buried her face in his coat. She didn't understand what was happening. No one had ever looked at her like that. No one had ever stood up for her. Not even her own blood. Why was a human doing this? Inside his ship, David placed her gently on a soft bunk. He covered her with a clean blanket and set the heater near her feet. "I'll make some more food," he said. Karel watched him move. His ship was small but neat. He had one bed, a tiny kitchen, and tools scattered on the floor. There was nothing fancy, but it felt safe. David returned with a warm cup and placed it in her hands. She sipped it slowly. It was thick and sweet. Her body relaxed. "I'll get some medicine later," he said. "We'll clean those wounds tomorrow." She looked at him, confused. "Why do you say we?" David smiled gently. Because you're not alone anymore. Karel opened her mouth to say something, but nothing came. Her throat tightened. She turned her head and let the tears fall silently. Outside, the stars blinked cold in the black sky. But inside that little ship, for the first time in her life, Karel felt warm, and she didn't know it yet. But this was just the beginning. The small ship hummed gently as it floated above the sleeping colony. Inside, the alien girl Karel slept on a narrow bed with a soft blanket wrapped around her thin body. Her head twitched. Her hands clenched the edge of the blanket. She was dreaming again. Of fire, chains, screaming voices. She woke up with a gasp. The lights were dim but warm. Her heart was racing. For a moment she forgot where she was. Then her eyes landed on the man sleeping nearby. On the floor, curled up with a coat as a pillow. The human. David. He had brought her here, fed her, cleaned her wounds. He hadn't asked her to do anything. He hadn't touched her wrongly. He hadn't even asked questions. Why? No one had helped her before, not even her family. She sat up slowly. Her bad leg ached and her back burned. But still, she stood, barely. She looked around the ship, nervous. Maybe he'd brought her here just to gain her trust. Maybe he'd sell her later. That's what others did. Still, she felt something different here. Something that made her chest hurt in a way she couldn't explain. She wanted to do something, anything. She saw a pile of tools near a panel. Maybe he was fixing something. She crawled to it and picked up a wrench. Her hands shook, but she started tightening loose screws. Click, click, clang. David woke with a start. He blinked, saw her, and sat up. Karel? She froze. I was just helping. He got up and walked over. She dropped the wrench. I'm sorry, she said quickly. I won't break anything. He knelt beside her. You don't have to do anything. But I want to, she said softly. I don't want to be useless anymore. David stared at her, then smiled. Then we'll fix it together. She looked into his eyes. You don't think I'm broken? No, he said. I think the world was cruel to you. That's different. Karel looked away. Her chest was tight again. She didn't know how to handle these feelings. He helped her back to the bed. Her leg gave out, but he caught her gently, like holding something precious. She hated being weak. But for once, she didn't feel ashamed. Later that day, David left the ship to find medicine and supplies. Karel waited. The silence was scary. What if he didn't return? What if this was just a short kindness before another cruel goodbye? But hours later, the door opened. David walked in, dirty, tired, but smiling. In his hands were fresh bandages, a soft scarf, and a little fruit she hadn't seen before. For you, he said. She took it and bit slowly. It was sweet. Her lips curled into a small smile. Then he opened a bag and pulled out something strange. A small round device. Wires. Straps. What is it? She asked. A brace, he said. For your leg. I designed it on the way. Karel stared. You built this for me? He nodded. You'll walk again. Tears filled her eyes. No one had ever given her anything that wasn't trash. And now this man, a human, was building her a new leg. Why? She whispered. What do you want from me? David paused. Then he sat beside her. Nothing, he said. I don't help people because I want something. I do it because I can. Because I should. Karel blinked. Her world didn't work like that. Her kind didn't believe in that. Then why me? She asked. He smiled. Because when I saw you lying in that dirt, I saw something strong. Someone who survived. That matters. Karel didn't speak. She didn't know what to say. Later that night, when David was asleep again, she stayed awake. She looked at the brace he made. She touched the soft blanket. She smelled the warm air filled with food and tools, and for the first time in her life, she didn't feel like garbage. She felt like maybe, just maybe, she could be more. Carol woke to the sound of metal clinking. She sat up slowly. David was crouched near the ship's lower engine panel, his hands deep in wires, sparks dancing around him. He didn't notice she was awake. She watched him quietly. He had changed something inside her, and yet he never asked for anything. No promises, no deals, just care, just kindness. That was dangerous. In her world, nothing came free, not without pain. So she waited. For the price. When David finally turned, he saw her watching. He smiled, wiping grease from his hands. "Morning. Did you sleep okay?" She nodded, but then looked down. "You did something to the ship again." He chuckled. "Yeah. I lowered the control panels so you can reach them." Carell blinked. "For me?" Of course, she looked around. The seat had been adjusted. The ramp had a railing now. Small things. Silent changes. All for her. "Why?" she whispered. "Why are you changing everything for me?" David leaned against the wall. "Because you live here now, and if you're going to be part of this ship, it should fit you too." Carell's chest tightened. She wasn't used to the feeling. It was heavy, but warm. Part of this ship? No one had ever called her part of anything. Later, Carell tried to cook while David rested. She used the food packs he had stored, mimicking what she saw him do. The result was not good. She burned it. The smell filled the cabin. David came out coughing, then laughed when he saw her guilty face. "I wanted to surprise you," she muttered. "You did?" he said. "It smells like melted socks." Carell giggled. A real laugh. Small, strange, but real. That night they ate his cooking instead. Over the next days, something strange began to happen. Carell started to feel stronger. Not because her body healed, though it did, slowly, but because someone saw her, heard her, spoke to her like she mattered. She started helping. She passed tools while he worked. She organized his gear. She learned small things. How to clean wires, how to test energy flow, how to patch broken circuits. She even gave him advice on shielding, which surprised him. "You know tech?" he asked. She nodded. "My father fixed machines. I watched him before he sold me." David paused. "I'm sorry." Carell shrugged. "He said I was a waste, that selling me was a mercy." David's fists tightened, but he didn't say anything cruel. He just said, he was wrong. That one sentence felt louder than all the shouting in her past. One evening, while Carell adjusted a small vent, David sat near her and spoke softly. "I think we should leave this planet." She looked up, worried. "Why?" "There's word going around. Someone's asking about you, someone rich." Her hands froze. "The old masters?" David nodded. "I can hide," she said quickly. "I'll stay in the walls. I won't speak. Please don't send me away." He reached out and gently held her wrist. "Carell, I'm not sending you anywhere. I'm taking you away from here." "But it's your ship," she whispered. "You don't need me slowing you down." "You don't slow me down," he said. "You keep me going." Carell stared at him. No one had ever said something like that. She tried to speak, but no words came. So instead, she did something small. Something quiet. She placed her hand over his. Just for a moment. No promises. No deal. Just a silent bond. A connection that needed no words. That night, while David checked the navigation charts, Carell stared out the window at the stars. She wondered which one of them would be her new home. She wondered how long this peace would last, and, somewhere deep inside, she hoped it would last forever. But she knew the galaxy didn't care for peace. And someone was coming. Someone who believed she still belonged to them. The stars outside blinked gently, but Carell couldn't sleep. She lay under a blanket, eyes wide, staring at the ceiling of David's ship. The hum of the engines was soft, but inside her mind, the noise was loud, screaming. Chains, burning metal. Worthless creature. Sell her. She can't even walk. Carell clutched the blanket tightly. Her breath quickened. Sweat dripped from her forehead. The old voices, the ones she had buried, were back. She squeezed her eyes shut, but in the darkness, she saw the fire again. Suddenly, she sat up with a loud cry. David rushed in, his boots echoing on the metal floor. Carell? She couldn't speak. She was trembling. Her body was cold, but her skin burned with memory. He knelt beside her. You're safe. Breathe with me, she tried. In, out, in, out. After a few minutes, she calmed. David didn't ask questions. He just sat beside her, close, but not too close. Then she spoke, quietly, without looking at him. I was locked in a crate when I was sold. David listened. They told me I'd be a cleaner. But it was a lie. They used me as a toy, then left me when I got sick. Her voice shook. I screamed for help. No one came. David's eyes were filled with rage, but his voice stayed soft. They'll never hurt you again, Carell nodded slowly. I believe you. For the first time, she did. The next morning, David worked on the ship's outer hull while Carell stayed inside. She used the tools he taught her to adjust a broken panel. Her fingers moved with focus now. She was learning. She was healing. But peace doesn't last long in the stars. As the sun set over the horizon of a nearby moon, a small message came through their comms. A name. A face. A bounty. David frowned. He quickly turned off the screen before Carell could see. It was her. Someone was offering credits, a lot of credits, to bring her back alive. Not for justice, not for kindness, for control. That night, Carell noticed David was quiet. You're hiding something, she said softly. He looked up from his repair kit. Why do you think that? Because I used to lie every day, she replied. I know the signs. He sighed. They're looking for you. She froze. I can leave, she said. Run. Disappear. No, David said firmly. You're not running. Not this time. She looked at him confused. You've run enough, now we stand. Carell swallowed hard. They're stronger. But we're smarter, David said. And I'll protect you. Her voice cracked. Why? David leaned closer. Because no one protected you before. The ship changed after that. David added defense systems. Carell upgraded the locks. They stopped staying in one place too long. And in the quiet moments, Carell would sometimes sit close to David, not touching, just near, feeling safe for the first time in years. One night, while watching the stars, she asked, Do you think broken people can become whole again? David didn't answer right away. Then he said, I don't think you were ever broken, just treated like you were. That answer made her chest ache, but far away, deep in the shadows of space. A ship followed their signal. A voice crackled through the darkness. Target located, prepare to retrieve the girl. The past wasn't done with her, and this time, it was coming with chains. The warning light blinked red on the ship's control panel. David's jaw tightened as he looked at the radar screen. A ship was following them. Same distance, same direction. No reply to hails. Carell sat behind him in the co-pilot's seat, clutching the armrest. Someone's tailing us, he said calmly. Don't panic. But she already knew. Her heart felt cold. That kind of silence only meant one thing. Hunters. She had seen them before. Not soldiers, not police, but bounty men. Cold and hungry for credits. Paid by people like her former masters. the ones who believed she still belonged to them. That night, David landed the ship in a hidden cave on a rocky moon. They sat together in the dim light, quietly checking weapons, supplies, and exits. Carell was silent for a long time, then finally spoke. "If they catch me, they'll take me back." David didn't answer. He just kept sharpening a small blade. "I won't let them take you," he said at last. "You can't fight them all. Watch me." Carell looked at him. This man with tired eyes and rough hands. He was no soldier, just a mechanic, a traveler. But he had become more than that. To her, he was safety. To her, he was a reason to keep living. The next day, they moved again, but it was too late. As soon as the ship left the moon's atmosphere, 2 fighter crafts appeared above them. Sirens blared. Carell gasped. "This is Patrol Sigma 3, a voice crackled. "Surrender the female alien. She is registered property of House Kurith." David slammed the controls. "Not anymore. You are outgunned, human. Cooperate or be destroyed." Carell's hand trembled on the seat's edge. "They won't let us go." David smiled grimly. "Then we don't ask permission." What followed was chaos. The enemy ships opened fire. David jerked the ship into a steep dive through an asteroid field. Metal groaned. Alarms screamed. Carell struggled to stay upright. "Let me help." David pointed to the rear shields. "Charge them manually. Override the failsafe." Carell crawled to the panel, heart racing. Her fingers flew across the buttons. Sparks flew. She cried out, but the shield bar climbed. David grinned. "That's it." The enemy fired again, but the shield held. He looped the ship behind a large rock, then hit a button. A blast mine launched straight into the enemy's path. Boom. One ship vanished in flames. The other spun wildly and retreated. They'd won. For now. The silence afterward was heavy. Carell sat on the floor, her chest rising and falling fast. David knelt beside her and checked her arms. "You okay?" She nodded, her voice weak. I thought we'd die." David placed a hand gently on her shoulder. "We didn't, because you helped." She looked at him, her eyes wide. "I did? You saved us." Tears spilled from her eyes. No one had ever said that to her. No one ever made her feel strong. Until now. Later that night, they hid the ship in a fuel station orbiting a dead moon. Carell stared at the stars. "They'll send more," she whispered. "They won't stop." David stood behind her. "Then we make them stop. For good." She turned to him, nervous. "How?" He smiled. Not a soft smile, but the kind warriors wear before battle. "We find the ones who claim to own you, and we erase their claim." Carell's eyes widened. "You'd fight them?" "I'd fight the whole galaxy if I had to," he said. "Because no one owns you. Not anymore." Far away, in a rich palace on a gold-lit planet, a fat alien lord slammed his fist on the table. She was seen again, with a human. The servant bowed. "Should we send more hunters?" "No," the lord growled. "Send the collar." The servant gasped. "The control collar?" "She won't run again," the lord sneered. "Not after this." Carell sat alone inside the ship's small workshop. The lights flickered softly as she tightened the screws on a broken panel. Her movements were slow, careful, but confident. She was no longer afraid of tools. No longer afraid of her own hands. Every day with David, she felt less like the broken thing people used to call her, and more like a person again, but she knew it wouldn't last forever. David entered with a data pad in hand. "We just got pinged," he said. "There's a cargo stop on Zarda 8. Quiet. Few eyes. We'll refuel and rest." Carell looked up. "And then? We make a move. We hit House Kurith. We end their claim on you." She hesitated. "I don't want you to get hurt because of me." He smiled faintly. Too late for that. The stop at Zarda 8 seemed peaceful at first. David traded old parts for credits. Carell waited inside the ship, reading schematics and practicing walking with her brace. Each step still hurt, but she didn't give up. By the time David returned, she was sweating, but standing. "You walked that far?" he said, impressed. She nodded. 6 steps. "That's more than most people ever try," he said. "I'm proud of you." Carell lowered her head, hiding a tear. Then, a knock at the ship's rear door. David turned fast, hand on his weapon. "Who is it?" No answer. He opened the door slowly. A small package sat on the floor, sealed in black metal. No note. No name. Just one thing inside. A collar. Carell froze. She knew that collar. The control chip inside. The one they used on runaways. David held it up, his jaw tight. "What is this?" Carell stepped back. Her hands trembled. "They used it on me once," she said softly. "It shocks, it burns. It speaks commands inside your head." David tossed it across the room. It hit the wall and sparked. "They're threatening you. They're telling me they're close," she whispered. That night, Carell couldn't sleep. She walked slowly through the ship, looking at each panel she had helped repair, each tool she had touched, each switch she had cleaned. She stopped outside David's room. He was sitting with a datapad studying the layout of House Cureth's estate. "We can't win," she whispered. "They have armies." "We don't need to win," he replied. "We just need to break the chain." She entered and sat beside him. "Why do you care so much?" she asked. "I'm not special. I'm not strong." "You are strong," David said. "You survived hell. You're still standing." Carol's voice cracked. "But I'm still broken." David looked at her, really looked at her. "No," he said slowly. "You're not broken." He reached into a drawer and pulled out a small device. It was a badge, one he had worn long ago, a soldier's mark. "I was broken once," he said. "In a war. Lost friends, lost hope. I fixed machines because I couldn't fix people." Then he looked at her. "Until I found you." Carell's eyes filled with tears. "You fixed me?" "No," he whispered. "You started fixing me." They stared at each other for a long moment. Then Carell did something she never imagined she could. She reached for his hand, and for the first time, she didn't feel weak doing it. She felt strong. Because someone finally saw her as more than broken, but outside the peaceful stars. A dark cruiser floated in silence. Inside, a hunter opened a file. Carell's image glowed on the screen, and below it, the words, "Ready for capture." The ship was silent. Too silent. Carell stood in the corridor, hand resting on the wall for balance. She had just completed her morning walk, 10 full steps without falling. Her brace held firm. Her breathing was steady. She was getting stronger. But something felt wrong. She turned toward the main cabin and saw David standing at the window, eyes fixed on the sky. "They're here," he said quietly. Carell didn't ask who. She already knew. A massive black ship floated above the moon's surface, dark, silent, and watching. The House of Cureth had come. Not with traitors. Not with words, but with chains. David grabbed a weapon, then opened the locker behind the pilot's seat. Inside was a small capsule. "What's that?" Carell asked. "A tracker scrambler. We need to disappear." But before he could activate, the ship shook, a heavy thud, then another. They were boarding. David pulled Carell into a storage room. "Stay here. Lock the door no matter what. Don't come out." "I'm not hiding," she said. "You're not ready." She looked him in the eye. "You trained me. You told me I'm strong. Let me prove it." He hesitated, then slowly handed her a stun baton. "Stay close." The doors burst open. 3 armored bounty hunters stormed inside, weapons drawn. Their visors glowed red. Their leader held a control device in one hand, the collar's key. "Stand down, human," he growled. "She belongs to House Cureth." David stepped forward. "Not anymore." One of the hunters laughed. "She's just cargo, a thing. Before David could reply, Carell walked into view. "No," she said firmly. "I am not a thing." The hunters turned. "Return to your place." The leader barked, lifting the controller. Carell didn't flinch. "You think pain will stop me?" she said. "I've lived through worse." The collar device clicked. Nothing happened. David grinned. "We took it apart." The leader snarled. "Then we'll take you by force." He charged. Carell moved first. She swung her stun baton, harder than ever before, and hit the hunter across the chest. Sparks flew, the man dropped like a rock, another came at her. She ducked, rolled. Her brace hissed, adjusting. She struck again, this time at the legs. He fell screaming. David took the last one, fist to jaw, quick and brutal. Silence followed. Carell stood in the middle of the wreckage, chest rising and falling. Her arms trembled, but she was still standing. Later, they dragged the hunters outside and launched a distress beacon with a message. "These men came with chains. We broke them." Carell stared at the sky. No more running. No more hiding. David stood beside her. "They'll send more," he said. "Let them," she whispered. A few days later, they landed on a peaceful planet with green fields and tall silver trees. A small village of mixed species lived there, free from the Empire's rule. David spoke with the leader. Carell watched from the ship, unsure. Then he returned with a smile. "They said we can stay. Together." She blinked. "You mean, live here?" "Start fresh," he said. "No chains, no hunters, just us." Carell looked at the village, then at her hands, calloused, strong, hers. She nodded. "Let's start." A month passed. Carell now walked, without support. She taught alien children how to fix tools. She built things with her own hands. And each night, David cooked, and they sat under the stars, side by side. One night he turned to her. "Do you ever miss the old days?" he asked. She smiled. "No, because the old me was surviving." She looked at her hands. "The new me is living."